So today's lesson is going to be all about rounding decimals. Around how much would you spend to purchase these shirts? $198 plus $401 plus $99 might be a little difficult to add. But if you turn 198 into 200, or 401 into 400, or $99 into $100, you can quickly figure out that the total is around $700. This is called rounding. Rounding is when you change a number by adding a few or subtracting a few from the original number to make an easier number to work with. When you round a number, the amount is not exact. It is usually a little more or a little less than the original number. Today's objective is I can round decimals to places up to the thousands. Let's remember together how we round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. Let's take the number 568. Okay, using place value, how can we round this number to the nearest 100? So, we know that this nearest 100 is going to be either 500 or 600 because 568 is right in between 500 and 600. 550 is right between 500 and 600. So would 568 be before or after 550? Well, because it's after 550, that means that it would be closer to 600. But the number 538, okay, if we were to round that to 100, we would look and see that it's also between 500 and 600, but 538 would be less than 550, which is halfway between. So we would round 538 down to 500. Let's say we wanted to round 568 to the nearest 10. So if we were rounding 568 to the nearest 10, we would know 568 is between 560 and 570. And right in the middle of 560 and 570 is 565. 568 is closer to 570, so we would round to 570. Now let's take 563. 563 can be rounded by looking at 560, 570 and recognizing that it's between, but it's less than 565, which is the halfway point, which makes this closer to 560. Now, that's how we round whole numbers, but what if we rounded decimals? So here are the steps for rounding. After each step, please make sure you write it down. Underline the digit and the place you're rounding to. Circle the digit to the right of the underlined digit. If that digit is 4 or less, let it rest. The underlined digit stays the same. If that digit is 4 or more, raise the score. You're going to add 1 to the underlined digit. The digits after the underlined digit all become 0. Before the decimal point, you're going to keep all of those zeros. Rewrite all of the digits before the rounding place. Drop the zeros after the decimal. So let's look at 8 and 4/10. Okay, if we think about this on a place value chart, 8 and 4/10, okay, we want to round this to the nearest whole number, or the number that's in the ones place. So we're going to think about this 8 and 4/10 as being between two whole numbers, 8 and 9. But 8 and 4/10, is it closer to 8 or closer to 9? So we're going to check and see. First, we underline the digit in the place that we're going to. Then we circle the digit to the right. The digit to the right is a 4. So 4 or more, 5 or more, you raise the score. 4 or less, you let it rest. So since 4 is closer to 8 tenths, we are going to, 4 tenths is closer to 8, so we're going to leave it and let it rest at 8. So this rounded to the nearest whole number, 8 and 4 tenths is going to be 8. Now what about 8 and 7 tenths? So 8 and 7 tenths is a decimal, and if we wanted to round that to the nearest whole number, it would be between 8 and 9. Now, we would underline our digit or a place that we're rounding to, which is the ones place. We circle the digit to the right. We look at the digit to the right, 5 or more, raise the score. So that 8 becomes a 9. After the 9, we're going to have that 7 become a 0. And because it's after the decimal point, we're going to drop the 0, making 8 and 7 tenths rounded to the nearest whole number, 9. What about 11 and 25 hundredths? In this place, we have something to the hundredths place. Okay, can we round this to the nearest whole number? So we're going to look and see the nearest whole number is going to be us rounding to the ones place. So is this between 11 or 12? So we look at 11 and 25 hundredths and we see that it is between 11 and 12, but it's closer to 11. But we can double check and make sure by underlining the place that we're rounding to, which is the ones place, circling the digit to the right of it, which is in the tenths place, and that 2 tells us that we're going to let it rest. For or less, you let it rest. So that 2 is going to tell that 1 to stay the same. So we would round to 11. Now, can we round this number to the nearest tenths place? So we're going to follow those steps. Underline the place that you're rounding to. Okay. We know that 45 and 63 hundredths is between 45 and 6 tenths and 45 and 7 tenths. So we're going to circle the number in the place to the right, and we see that it's a 3. So 4 or less, we let the 6 rest. So the 6 is going to stay a 6. Everything after the decimal becomes a 0, or after the place you're rounding to becomes a 0. And you're going to copy everything that comes before the decimal point. So before the decimal point, or before the place we were rounding to, was a 4 and a 5. So it's going to be 45 and 60 hundredths. But we're going to drop any zeros after our decimal that are just placeholders. And we're going to call it 45 and 6 tenths is the way we would round to the nearest tenths place. Let's try it again. 45 and 662 thousandths. Okay, we're going to round this number to the nearest tenths. So we underline the place that we're trying to round to. We see that 45 and 662 thousandths is between 45 and 6 tenths and 45 and 7 tenths. So in this case, we're going to look to the place to the right, which is the hundredths place, and this 6 hundredths, okay, if it's 5 or more, we're going to raise the score. So this 6 in the tenths place is now going to become a 7. So everything after the decimal point, after the place you're rounding to becomes zeros. So you're going to also rewrite everything that was before the place that you're rounding to as it was. We're then going to drop any zeros after the place that we're rounding to, and this becomes 45 and 7 tenths when we round it to the nearest tenths place. Okay, let's do one more and round this to the nearest hundredths place. We underline the digit in the place that we're rounding to. We're rounding to the hundredths place. Okay, we know that this is going to be between 45 and 66 hundredths and 45 and 67 hundredths. That 2 tells us that we're going to 4 or less, we're going to let the 6 that's in the hundreds place rest, so it stays a 6. Okay, we're going to change everything after the decimal place becomes after the place we're rounded to becomes a 0. And we're going to rewrite everything that is before the place that we rounded to. So 45 and 6/10 are still going to be 45 and 6/10. We drop the 0 and we see that we're rounding. It's 45 and 66 hundredths is what we would round to. Now you're going to try to answer on your own or in groups. So try to round each of these numbers to the nearest whole number, the nearest tenth, and the nearest hundredth.